over. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Erin Blanchfield, who this past weekend at the UFC Apex at UFC Fight Night, Andrade versus Blanchfield, got the biggest win of her career. The 23-year-old defeated the one and only Jessica Andrade by submission via rear naked choke at 1 minute 37 seconds of round number 2. Mark, kick us off here. What was your impressions of Erin Blanchfield's breakout performance, we can call it maybe?
Yeah, what an arrival for Erin Blanchfield. And you know this thing was a statement because we're all on here a few weeks ago talking her up, unanimously picking her as one of our breakout fighters of 2023, and none of us could get ourselves to pick her over Jessica Andrade. So for her to go in there and not give two shits and handle Jessica Andrade quicker than anyone ever thought she could is one hell of a way to break through, as you said. To start off in this fight, I really think that she threw Andrade off in round 1 by walking toward her, throwing strikes as comfortably as she was. I don't think Andrade ever anticipated that, and it took her a good 3+ minutes to adjust to that. But she did adjust, to her credit. She stopped backing up. She started playing kind of the Patricio Pitbull game where she just stood her ground and took like one little half step to the left and right to evade instead of moving backwards and taking these big strides and keeping her feet planted to counter back with power. And that's when you kind of saw the fight change and shift back to Andrade in those last 2 minutes or so of round 1. So we ended up with actually a really competitive round 1 that was hard to score. But then round 2, the takedown happens within the first, whatever it was, 30 seconds, and that was all Blanchfield needed. We have heard since from Andrade, I don't know if you guys have seen this, that apparently when Blanchfield moved in for the takedown, it was kind of a clinch takedown, upper body, that apparently her upper body lifted Jessica Andrade's shirt up over her chest, and that Andrade was so focused on trying to get her shirt back down that she didn't defend the takedown well. So in her words, that is the only reason she got taken down. Who knows about that? I even tried to watch. You can't tell. You can kind of see that the shirt maybe goes upward. I'm sure she's not making it up. But either way, she then is on the ground. The shirt is back down, and she is under Blanchfield and decides to try to get up and immediately lets Blanchfield take her back, which was a beautiful back take in about 2 seconds, and then sinks in the choke in about 2 seconds. So as much as maybe Andrade wouldn't have ended up down there, she still did a terrible job when she was down there, and Blanchfield did a beautiful job of immediately taking that back and sinking in the choke. So credit to Blanchfield on what was an enormous, enormous win to catapult herself right to the front of the line now, frankly, in the flyweight division.
Omar, did you see any Andrade nips? I also have to watch it again. I mean, you would think that. I mean, were her hands in there, like adjusting?
So it looks like all you can notice is that, like, the very bottom of the shirt, you can kind of see that it gets pushed, but then you can't actually see what happens. And then you see, like, one of Andrade's hands go in, and then she's immediately taken down. But I guess maybe her point is, like, that she didn't focus on her balance the way she would have because her thoughts just all went there. So I don't know.
Yeah. Dude,
I give her sympathy then for the takedown, but what about the rest of it? Because you just let the rest of it go. And I said this during the night of the fight. I was like,
you did.
You didn't attack anything. You didn't defend the hands. You literally just stood there. She did nothing. She did nothing to defend anything of what happened at the end of at the end sequence of that fight. I didn't understand it. I really didn't understand it. I thought something might have been wrong with her. I don't know. But it just seemed to be that Erin Blanchfield took an opportunity where she saw it. Good for her. I think that was a great performance, especially from round 1. The striking was on point. Like Mark said, Andrade eventually adapted to it, but Blanchfield did work in that first round. And second round, she took advantage of the opportunities that were presented to her. And I say this after realizing we all took Andrade last week, but I can't say from that performance that I think she's going to beat Valentina. The one thing I find very interesting, though, is that we have reached a point where this is now the girl that has watched Valentina growing up. This is the girl that has probably studied Valentina more subconsciously, if not purposefully, later on in her life. Like, this is where things start to get dangerous, I think, for the champions that have been around for a long time, and they've got tape after tape after tape. And this girl's probably spent years watching Valentina now at this point. So it does make it very interesting because the girl's got the skills, I think. I don't know. I don't know if she can actually pull it off with Valentina. It's going to be very fun and very interesting, though.
Yeah, man, now I can't stop thinking about that excuse. I mean, it's kind of the benefit of the doubt for me of like, maybe it was, it flustered Andrade enough to the point where it kind of just took her out of it. Because I was confused. I was like, somebody the caliber of Jessica Andrade, who was under somebody's side control, why would she just turn her back? I mean, I'm not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, so anybody who's listening or watching right now on YouTube, drop us a comment if you're a Jiu-Jitsu practitioner. Give us some insight there. What do you think?
she was close to the fence, so I'm not. Her rolling to her back with an intention to get up upside the cage, work her way back up. Like, I get that. Once Blanchfield has her hands around her neck, why are your hands not around her hands? Why are you not fighting hands at this point? Like, Andrade at one point did nothing. Just kind of stood there, waited to get choked out. It was weird. It was a weird end to the fight for me.
I mean, I do think the choke was very tight very quickly. Like, it looked like Andrade was a millisecond away from going out. She almost looked like she did right when the choke got released, and then she, like, opened her eyes. So I think it got real tight real quick. Her getting up the way she did, I didn't really understand. It just, as soon as she turned that way, I was like, oh, fuck. But I think the key was that Blanchfield, as Andrade turned, got that right leg hook in as Andrade was turning. And I think maybe Andrade thought she was already clear from that leg, so she thought she was going to be able to stand. And then by the time she realized that leg was hooked on her, it was too late. I don't know. It was a weird one. It definitely felt like it was easier than expected once they hit the ground.
In the moment, it felt almost like arrogance in Andrade's part. In the moment, it just seemed like Andrade didn't take Blanchfield seriously or her ground game. There's no way this girl is going to be able to do X, Y, or Z to me on the ground.
And she may not have. Maybe that could be it.
That's the way it felt. You know what I mean? It seems crazy to take that kind of risk at that level, but
it seemed like hubris to me, like just too much pride, too much self-confidence.
I mean, it could have the shirt thing could have played into it. It could have been in her head, like
it could have,
fuck this. I never would have been here if that didn't just happen. I'm getting up and just think like, now that I'm back focused, I'm standing up, and then before you know it, you're like, ah, fuck, that was stupid. Like
we haven't heard about too many. We haven't heard about too many wardrobe malfunctions in these later years of the UFC.
No.
Now, when they first started making women's clothes, it was kind of a problem. Ronda had issues left and right when she first started in the UFC.
So.
Yeah. To be honest with you guys, Mark, you saying that, or did Omar? You brought it up, the shirt thing.
What?
Me. Yeah,
he did.
It jars my memory. When I watched the fight, there was a few times throughout the evening, I think during like her introduction, Andrade's introduction, I recalled her like adjusting her bra a few times. And
really? Jeez.
I just kind
maybe she just had a bad fitting top.
Maybe it was too tight.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm surprised, honestly. I'm surprised more girls don't just go for the Michelle Waterson look with like the full T-shirt and just like not even worry about it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because when you're just like in a bra, Like if you're that worried, if it's going to take you out of it, if something happens to just like a sports bra, basically.
Yeah, she even had a comment. She said something like, "I shouldn't have been as concerned with it as I was, because it's not like people haven't already seen this before," which I guess means she was showing it on her OnlyFans. So like she even said that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I wouldn't care personally. It's like, who gives a shit? Just a nipple. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I don't know.
Shows your tits. Shows your tits.
But I don't want to take away from Blanchfield. She was awesome. I mean,
yeah, man.
We can get into this with the next, but Shevchenko is a much different challenge because the size advantage that she had over Andrade is not going to be a thing. I think Shevchenko's an inch taller than Blanchfield. Blanchfield, I think, has a 1-inch reach. I was looking at this that night. That's what I think it was. 1-inch height Shevchenko, 1-inch reach Blanchfield. But basically, they're the same size. So that part of it is going to be out the window.
Nuts, man. What a big win. The record books
huge win.
Are not going to remember whether or not there was a wardrobe malfunction or not. This is a huge win for Erin Blanchfield. Congrats to her. Real quick, let's stay with Jessica Andrade for a second. Mark, give me a name. Who would you want to see Andrade fight next?
So she has said that she would like to return to strawweight and kind of remain there, which I don't hate at all. And if she's doing that, I think there is one clear fight for her that should happen. I've mentioned this fight before. It's a perfect fight. Her and Carlo Esparza. It feels like a fight that should have happened by now. It never has. Esparza's coming off a loss as well. I'm booking that, and one of them is right back in the mix at strawweight.
Omar, any other ideas?
I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, especially now in this particular situation, right? We already got Blanchfield going in one direction, but as far as Andrade is concerned, Mark, who did you just say?
Esparza, because she said she wants to go back down to 115 and stay there instead of keep floating back and forth between the divisions.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about Rose myself, but I wasn't sure which one.
That could work too.
Which one was going to be available at this point?
Yeah, they both are.
And is it like all but confirmed that like Blanchfield is basically going title shot next?
I can't see how they can't capitalize on that. I
mean,
can't.
The next one is Grasso, which is only a couple weeks away at this point. Yeah, against the winner of that. You mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's confirmed. I guess you could say, like, wait a second, what's happening to Manon Fior, which I get, because people thought she was going to get this shot, and Grasso got it instead. So for her to get jumped again, I guess, is a little tough. So if they said we want to have Blanchfield and Manon Fior fight, I would get that. But it seems like you can't do that since the Shevchenko-Grasso fight is already happening in like 2 weeks. It seems like you might as well just pick the next challenger and go with it, which I would get. At this point, I'm picking Blanchfield over Fior.
Yeah, really? Wow.
Yeah, all for that win, 100%. Fior hasn't had any performance like that.
Yeah, same.
How tall is Fior? How big is she?
No, I don't mean I'm picking her to beat Fior. I'm saying I'm picking her to, if one of them is getting an immediate title shot, I'm picking Blanchfield.
I see.
Yeah, in terms of
beating,
I
am picking Blanchfield over Fior, personally.
You are? Okay.
That's tricky. Well.
Interesting.
I'm more torn.
Good, man.
Gun to my head, Blanchfield, but I'm more torn. I'd have to think about that a bit.
Anything else you guys want to say about Erin Blanchfield and this huge win on her career? Okay, let's move on.
I hate Sorry, I do want to say something else. I hate that they found the one matchup for Erin Blanchfield where I wasn't ready to pick her. Like, if she fought Tyler Santos like she was supposed to, I would have been on Blanchfield. Even if it was Fior, I feel like I might have been like, she can get this done against all these other girls. Andrade, I was like, no, I can't. I got to pick Andrade. And, of course, she fucking wrecks her.
And gets smoked. She just gets... It was not even like a competitive 3-round banger. Like, she got smoked.
Yeah.
Nah. I mean,
all right, apologies.
Halfway through that first round, I was like, wow. Erin Blanchfield is winning this stand-up exchanges.
She was lighting her up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's good, man. She's real good. And she's only 23.